There are a lot of movies that I didn't get the first time around. I would be watching them and a little voice in my head would be saying things like, "This is really boring. People think this is comedy? Where's the action-packed space battles? I don't really get the story. What's going on here? This looks really cheap." And that's kind of where The Life Aquatic was for me. It was a really slow and dry hero's journey that never really landed with me upon first viewing. But for some reason, it's a movie that's really easy to watch again and again. So I would like to explain in excruciating detail what this movie means. At least to me. I want you to remember, this is just a metaphor. The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou is a 2004 film directed by Wes Anderson. I know your inner dialogue is making a tired and cliche joke about vintage harpsichords or unicycles, but we should at least give Anderson credit for reviving Bill Murray's entire career. That is something that he did. At that time, Bill Murray was a bit washed up.
Oh, man!
An actor that had burnt a lot of bridges during his cocaine-clouded high life and emerged as a worn-out schmuck with an affinity for the sauce. To say that Anderson found a good role for him to play is the understatement of the century. Murray's a lovable goofball with a drinking problem. This man drinks. He has a reputation of being difficult to work with. He's been divorced twice. He also drinks a lot.
Bill, do you have another shot to do tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to be drunk for it, though. Don't worry about it.
Okay, good.
Wes Anderson wrote Murray a new identity on the screen. That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay, here we go.
This was a strange time for Anderson's career. Not only was the man rocking some of the slickest feathered tips imaginable, but The Life Aquatic was a hefty risk placed on Anderson's shoulders. Many people were hoping that this up-and-comer could in the end deliver at a larger size and scale. Well, did he deliver? To give the film credit, it has since gained a cult following and garnered a prestigious release by the Criterion Collection, and at the box office, it made no money. It didn't make any money. Maybe the world wasn't ready for this kind of gross fakeness. I mean, they're shooting this movie in a classic anamorphic, but with the acting and blocking of a middle school theater production. By the way, if you have time, please search out the shorts that Anderson produced for the 1999 MTV Movie Awards. They're pretty adorable. Also, the critics weren't too hot about this film. The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou's overt irony may come off as smug or artificial. And they might actually be right. But as always, within Anderson's world, the characters, themes, cinematography, and homemade soundtrack by Devo's Mark Mothersbaugh is hot fire. For example, let me show you some gorgeous shots with the backdrop of Japanese folk music from 1971. Okay, that's enough of that. Feel free to replace the music with something you find more appropriate, and let me know what you come up with. The movie opens with the premiere of Steve Zissou's latest in a long line of adventure documentaries, featuring fun underwater excursions, delightful music, and colorful sea creatures. It also features his mentor and role model, Esteban, being eaten alive by a jaguar shark. The premiere was met with lukewarm reactions. The quest then begins to track down the shark, explode it with dynamite, and exact revenge for the cruel hand Zissou has been dealt by the long wave of history. Moby Dick. And on the way there, we are treated to many fantastic story elements, including, but not limited to, making up for lost time with a bastard stepchild, continually relying on a former partner who has gradually lost respect for you, trying to start a fling with a very much pregnant and equally scorned younger woman, having your boat pirated, crew kidnapped, and staging a lightning scuba rescue operation. There are probably a lot of metaphors in there, but we need to keep moving. The story eventually comes to a close with Zissou confronting the behemoth shark, but instead of a final showdown, you know what, we need to flesh this out a bit more before we wrap it up. Owen Wilson plays abandoned family responsibilities. Kate Blanchett, the opportunity for new life, rebirth, or just birth in general. Angelica Houston, divine feminine. Sue George plays the Greek chorus, and I don't actually know if he exists in this movie. The guy with the bad shirt and glasses, he plays our own hasty judgment towards others based simply on looks and appearances.
Well, I'm also a human being.
All right, I take that back. Yeah.
And Willem Dafoe plays a German man-child.
I hear what you're saying.
This brings us to our main character, Stephen Zissou. Bill Murray is our protagonist, and some people might call him a Captain Ahab man, currently hurtling towards a cliff of his own making. Zissou's life used to be pretty good. He seemed to have been a popular documentarian, but now he's gotten a bit stale. The former glory of Zissou's earlier years had already reached its zenith by the time we meet him. And now, as a man in decline, we have to witness him come to grips with the current path he's on. But first, there are a few stages of grief he has to go through. Throughout the movie, we slowly build up a history of Stevesy, a man who has been moving in a downward trajectory for quite some time now. And every character that pops in to give us a bit more backstory paints a more weathered, cracked, and broken image of a man. His own audience and the world around him have grown tired of his shtick and ever so slowly lost respect for the man he once was.
Well, I just don't think they got it.
At first, we see that Zissou is blinded by the rage brought on by a large fish devouring his mentor, but this is just one piece in the puzzle. Steve is a man that has lost everything. His fame and celebrity status have already gotten moldy, and his father figure is swallowed by a shark. His wife might have stopped loving him, but she keeps lurking around for some reason. And the final cherry on top of all this, the son he had spent only moments with is dead. So, this is the metaphor. I think that everybody here knows the all too common motif of the classic hero. The individual that is called to adventure, stumbles around a bit, learns the ropes, and eventually saves the day, gets the girl, and earns a place among the other great heroes of the past. But that's only the first half of the story. Even if he reached the tippity top, from there, a slow descent into the underworld is all but inevitable. And there really isn't much you can do about it. Life is this crazy, mystical thing, and sometimes you just go out like a buster. You can't stop this behemoth. The monstrosity of this world is simply going to roll over you. It's a metaphor. I like to segue back to Bill Murray and to the ocean. But Bill Murray is the ocean. Samey, samey. Throughout time, the ocean has been used as a symbol for our own unconscious, although recently, that motif has been slowly moving to the realm of space. See, people are weird. A person's mind is an odd thing that holds quite a bit of thoughts, emotions, and memories that never make it above the surface. We're very strange creatures. So it's no wonder that we keep a lot hidden away from others and even ourselves. This is the ocean. And right now, it's Steve's ocean. It's the culmination of all that he's been holding back and buried for too long. And at that stage in his life, he surely has built up his fair share of mistakes and had his fair share of tragedy. And this, ultimately, is what he's trying to seek revenge for.
What would be the scientific purpose of killing it?
Revenge.
To make the ocean metaphor more simple, we essentially see Steve go into the ocean only 4 times. Number 1, his mentor dies. Number 2, he denies that he is a father. Number 3, his son dies. Number 4, we'll get there soon. This chasm of regret and shame is probably something that a lot of people can relate to. It's probably something that a lot of people hate. And you can't really fight the ocean, so let's fight the shark. You coalesce all of that hate into a big, nasty thing that lives at the depths. For some people, it's real heavy stuff. This is your shark. You might think that the horrible events of your past are completely separate from yourself and not actually you. But please remember that at this point, those memories and experiences have found a home with you, and you're just carrying them around like some kind of predestined baggage. And you might become bitter. You might try to go out guns blazing and hunt down the whale. But that plan is not going to work out. The shark is eventually going to get bigger and bigger as tragedy piles up, finishing off in a grand finale of swallowing you up. Nothing lasts. That's the bad news. Whatever rock-solid things you have in your life are not going to be there forever. At some point, the people around you will be gone. Or you'll be gone. Everyone loses everyone else. That's life. But there's also some good news. The shark is not inherently evil. The shark is you, or at least a part of you that's difficult to acknowledge. We're all riding a gargantuan wave of history, and all the influences and mishaps that landed you in the place you are right now is not inherently evil. At the end of the film, Zissou decides to finally give the monster a visit, not as a crazed, harpoon-wielding, nobody-listens-to-techno kind of man, but as one that has made peace with his own mortality and helplessness. What Anderson is able to achieve here is an actual tearjerker. In a miniature submarine on the way to the depths of the ocean, Zissou faces the creature from the Black Lagoon. And we, the audience, have a brief moment of sympathy for our hero. Everybody has their demons. It's usually best to make peace with them. He can't change the past, much less change the fate that's waiting for him. There was never any final resolution to his problems. There was only a shift in his understanding. At the end of the film, he has a final moment of humility. Okie dokie. I hope that came off as pretentious as possible. If you've made it this far, I'm going to give you a choice for the next video. We're heading over the Pacific to the world of Japanese cinema. Your choices are Tampopo, a delightful introduction to the land of the rising sun. House, the absolute nonsense of horror. And Perfect Blue, a fever dream and a kawaii waifu. If you want to cast your vote, a link is in the description, and I'll see you next time.